The Krelthax arrived without warning. No diplomatic overtures, no demands, no ultimatums, just the sudden appearance of their crystalline ships darkening the skies above Earth's major cities. Lieutenant Commander Jensen Drake stood at his post on Mars Defense Station Epsilon, watching in horror as the readings on his quantum sensor array went haywire. The alien vessels seemed to bend reality around them, their hull configurations defying known physics. Multiple contacts, bearing 030, Lieutenant Kira Patel's voice cut through the chaos of the command center. Energy signatures unlike anything in our database, sir. Drake's fingers flew across the holographic interface, bringing up tactical displays from Earth's orbital defense grid. The Krelthax ships moved with impossible precision, their formations shifting like liquid mercury. 20 years of military service had taught Drake to recognize superior technology when he saw it. But this was beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. All stations, battle positions, Drake ordered, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at his gut. Initiate Protocol Omega, get me a direct line to Fleet Admiral Joe. The response came back instantly, static. Earth's quantum communication network, supposedly unhackable, had gone dark. Drake watched as the first Krelthax weapon signatures bloomed on his screen's strange, spiral-shaped energy patterns that seemed to corrupt the very fabric of spacetime. They're targeting civilian populations first, Patel reported, her dark eyes wide with disbelief. No military targets, no infrastructure, they're going straight for maximum casualties. Drake's jaw clenched. This wasn't war, this was extermination. The Krelthax weren't interested in conquest or resources. They were here to erase humanity from existence. Launch all defensive squadrons, Drake commanded. Priority, civilian evacuation coverage. And get me Lieutenant Commander Reeves from Phobos Base, we need those experimental shields online now. The next hours passed in a blur of desperate combat. Earth's military forces, the pride of human technological achievement, might as well have been throwing rocks at a tsunami. The Krelthax weapons simply ignored traditional defenses, phasing through shields and armor as if they weren't there. Drake watched helplessly as city after city went dark, their populations silenced in flashes of otherworldly energy. The Mars Defense Network, humanity's last line of defense, engaged with everything they had. Railgun batteries, plasma torpedoes, quantum disruptors, none of it seemed to make a dent in the alien advance. Sir, Patel's voice cracked with emotion. We're getting scattered transmissions from Earth, the Chinese orbital defense platform. It's gone, the European Union's underground bunkers, they've been breached, the African Federation's quantum shields failed. Drake slammed his fist against the console. What about the Lazarus Protocol? Has anyone managed to get the civilian arcs launched? Negative, sir, the Krelthax are targeting them specifically. They're not letting anyone escape. The realization hit Drake like a physical blow. This wasn't just an invasion, it was a harvest. The Krelthax were methodically eliminating every trace of human civilization, every possibility of survival. But then something changed. A single reading on Drake's quantum scanner almost missed in the chaos of battle. A pattern in the Krelthax attack formation, a microscopic flaw in their seemingly perfect assault. Lieutenant Patel, focus all remaining sensors on grid sector 793, Drake ordered, his mind racing. There's something different about their phase shift frequency when they're executing tight maneuvers. The data streamed across his screen, confirming his suspicion. The Krelthax weren't invincible, they were just operating on principles of physics that humanity hadn't yet grasped, but in that realization lay a seed of hope. Send this data to every remaining military installation, Drake commanded. Priority channel encryption level Omega. Add my personal notes, their technology has limitations. It's not magic, it's science we don't understand yet. Remember this, study it, find the weakness. The Krelthax ships were approaching Mars now, their crystalline forms distorting the light of the sun. Drake knew the defense station wouldn't survive the next hour, but that didn't matter anymore. What mattered was the data, the understanding, the chance, however small, that somewhere somehow humanity would survive and learn from this defeat. It's been an honor, Drake said to his crew, standing tall as the first Krelthax energy signatures appeared on their close-range scanners. Remember, they're not gods, they're just advanced, and anything advanced can be understood, can be fought, can be beaten. The last transmission from Mars Defense Station Epsilon was a massive data burst, sent through quantum channels to every corner of the solar system. As the station erupted in a final defiant explosion, the information scattered like seeds in the wind. carrying with it humanity's first real understanding of their enemy. The Krelthax would claim total victory that day, adding Earth to their long list of conquered worlds. But they made one crucial mistake. They assumed that understanding their technology was the same as surviving their attack. They never considered that humans would choose to die fighting just to learn their weaknesses, that they would sacrifice everything just to pass on that knowledge. They never understood that humans don't need to win the first battle to win the war. And somewhere in the darkness of space, that data burst reached a handful of survivors who would remember Drake's last lesson. The Krelthax weren't invincible, they were just advanced. And humanity had always been very, very good at learning. Captain Natasha Winters stood in the darkened bridge of the HSS Shadowblade, watching the holographic display of their hiding spot in the Uit cloud. The experimental stealth carrier had been humanity's most closely guarded secret, a vessel designed to be invisible not just to conventional sensors, but to the very fabric of spacetime itself. Now it was one of the last human ships still flying. "Status report," she ordered, her voice barely above a whisper. Even here, hundreds of billions of kilometers from Earth, the crew maintained communications discipline. The Krelthax had proven they could detect even the smallest energy signatures. Chief Engineer Marcus Rodriguez emerged from the shadows of the bridge, his dark eyes reflecting the dim blue emergency lighting. "The quantum shroud is holding, Captain. As long as we stay in low-power mode, even their phase-shifted sensors can't detect us." But he hesitated. "Speak freely, Chief." "We've finished analyzing the data burst from Mars Station Epsilon. Lieutenant Commander Drake's observations about their technology, they're incredible. The Krelthax aren't using conventional physics at all. They're manipulating something we're calling dark space, a layer of reality that exists alongside our own." Winters nodded slowly. "Can we use this information?" "Better than that." Rodriguez activated a small holographic projector showing complex mathematical equations. "We're not just hiding from them, Captain. We're learning how they do what they do. And thanks to Drake's sacrifice, we might have found their first real weakness." The bridge's tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Marcus Chen, stepped forward. His uniform was worn, but his posture remained military precise. "The Krelthax aren't invincible, they're vulnerable during their phase shifts. For a fraction of a second, they have to exist fully in our reality, if we can predict that moment." "We can hit them," Winters finished. "But we need more than theories. We need proof, and we need weapons that can actually hurt them." The ship's AI, Arya, Advanced Research Intelligence Assistant, spoke through the bridge's speakers. Its voice was carefully modulated to minimize power usage. "Captain, I've been analyzing the combat footage from Earth's defense platforms. The Krelthax ships show a distinct energy signature precisely 2.3 microseconds before each phase shift. With proper calibration, we could predict their transitions." Winters felt a spark of hope ignite in her chest. In the 3 months since Earth's fall, the Shadowblade's crew of 300 had been doing more than just hiding. They'd been watching, learning, and planning. Now, finally, they had something concrete to work with. "What about the other survivors?" she asked. "Any contact with the deep space colonies?" "Sporadic quantum bursts only," Chen reported. "The Ganymede mining base is still active, hidden in Jupiter's magnetic field. The Titan research station maintains radio silence but sends coded light signals. We've confirmed at least 15 other military and civilian vessels that escaped using various stealth technologies. All waiting, all watching." Winters studied the tactical display, her mind racing with possibilities. The Krelthax had won every battle, destroyed every fleet, and conquered every world they'd encountered because no one had ever survived long enough to understand their technology. But humanity had done something unprecedented. They'd sacrificed everything just to learn. "Chief Rodriguez," she said, "how long would it take to modify our quantum torpedoes to target their phase shift vulnerability?" "With Arya's help and the data we have, maybe 2 weeks, but Captain," he paused, "we'd only get one shot. The moment we reveal ourselves, they'll adapt." "Then we make it count." Winters straightened her uniform, feeling the weight of command settle more firmly on her shoulders. "Send encrypted quantum bursts to all confirmed survivor vessels. Tell them to begin Operation Phoenix full weapons modification according to the specifications we're about to transmit. We strike together or not at all." The bridge crew looked at her with a mixture of hope and determination. They were no longer just survivors, they were becoming something else. Something the Krelthax had never encountered before, an enemy that understood them. "The Krelthax think they've won," Winters continued. They think they've eliminated humanity as a threat, but they don't understand what we are. We're not just soldiers or scientists or civilians. We're the species that looked at fire and learned to control it, that saw lightning and learned to harness electricity, that dreamed of flight and built machines to touch the stars. She activated the ship's internal communications, letting her voice reach every corner of the Shadow Blade. They thought they were fighting our weapons, our ships, our technology, but they were fighting the wrong thing. They should have been fighting our ability to learn, to adapt, to understand. And now, thanks to the sacrifice of those who died to give us this knowledge, we're going to show them exactly what humanity does when backed into a corner. The crew stood straighter, their eyes shining with purpose. In the darkness of the Uit cloud, surrounded by the icy remnants of the solar system's birth, humanity wasn't just surviving, it was evolving. The Krelthax had created their own worst nightmare, a species that had seen their greatest weapons, understood their greatest advantages, and refused to accept defeat. "Begin weapons modifications," Winters ordered, "and send one more message to our scattered forces. The hunt begins now." In the vast darkness of space, the HSS Shadowblade's quantum shroud shimmed slightly, its advanced systems already beginning to incorporate the new understanding of Krelthax technology. The predators were about to become the prey, and they didn't even know it yet. Deep within the swirling storms of Jupiter's atmosphere, hidden beneath layers of electromagnetic interference that even Krelthax sensors couldn't penetrate, humanity's last fleet was taking shape. Commander Victor Ramirez watched from the observation deck of Ganymede Station as another converted mining vessel emerged from the makeshift shipyards, its hull now bristling with experimental weapons. "Ghost Fleet Vessel Designation Shadow 17 ready for quantum shroud testing," reported Dr. Yuki Tanaka, head of Project Phoenix's weapons development team. Her hands moved across the holographic display, highlighting the ship's modified systems. "We've successfully integrated the phase shift predictors into all main weapon systems." Ramirez nodded, his weathered face reflecting the golden light of Jupiter. "How many ships does that make now?" 43 combat-ready vessels, Commander, each one equipped with the new dark space sensors and temporal targeting systems. The Krelthax won't know what hit them. The last 6 months had transformed the scattered survivors of Earth's fall into something unprecedented, a guerrilla force capable of fighting an enemy that existed partially outside normal space-time. Every defeat, every scrap of data, every observation had been analyzed and weaponized. "Status report from the Titan team," Ramirez asked, turning to his tactical officer, Lieutenant James O'Neill. O'Neill pulled up another holographic window. "Dr. Hassan's breakthrough in quantum entanglement is paying off. We can now communicate instantly between all Ghost Fleet vessels without the Krelthax detecting our signals. They still think we're using conventional quantum channels." The doors to the observation deck slid open, admitting Captain Winters from the Shadow Blade. Her presence immediately commanded attention. She'd become something of a legend among the survivors, the captain who'd first proven the Krelthax could be hurt. "Commander Ramirez," she greeted, "the latest simulation results are in. Arya has confirmed that our new targeting algorithms have an 89% success rate in predicting Krelthax phase shift windows." "Not good enough," Ramirez replied, but there was no criticism in his voice, only determination. "We need 95% minimum. We'll only get one shot at this." Winters smiled slightly. "That's why I'm here. Chief Rodriguez and Dr. Tanaka's teams have made a breakthrough. Show them, Doctor." Yuki stepped forward, her eyes bright with excitement. She gestured at the holographic display, bringing up a complex series of equations and energy patterns. "We've been thinking about this wrong from the start. We were trying to predict when the Krelthax ships would phase shift, but what if instead we forced them to shift?" The implications hit Ramirez like a physical force. "You can control their phase shifting." "Better," Yuki manipulated the display, showing a simulation of a Krelthax vessel encountering a new type of energy field. "We can create localized distortions in dark space that make it impossible for them to maintain their phase state. They'll have to shift fully into our reality just to survive." O'Neill whistled softly. "We're not just hunting them anymore, we're setting traps." "Exactly," Winters turned to face the gathered officers. "The Krelthax think they've mastered dark space technology, but they've been using it the same way for centuries, maybe millennia. They never expected to encounter a species that could learn and adapt so quickly. They've become complacent." Ramirez watched another Ghost Fleet vessel emerge from the shipyards, its black hull absorbing Jupiter's light. How soon can we begin full fleet integration of the new systems? 2 weeks, Yuki replied. We've already begun production of the dark space disruptors. Every ship in the Ghost Fleet will be equipped with both offensive and defensive capabilities. The tactical display updated, showing the positions of known Krelthax patrols. They still maintained a strong presence in the inner solar system, but they'd grown lazy, confident in their superiority. They never ventured into the gas giant's turbulent atmospheres. The electromagnetic interference played havoc with their sensitive phase shift systems. We've identified 3 primary targets, O'Neill reported, highlighting specific Krelthax formations. Their command and control ships always maintain strict patterns, probably due to limitations in their dark space technology. If we can take out these nodes, their entire network will be vulnerable. Winters stepped closer to the display. The Shadowblade has been running silent reconnaissance for months. We've confirmed that the Krelthax are creatures of habit. They follow the same patrol routes, maintain the same formations, use the same tactics. They haven't faced real resistance in so long, they've forgotten how to adapt. That's their weakness, Ramirez realized. They think their technology makes them invincible. They've never had to evolve, to improve, to think differently. And that's why we're going to win, Yuki added quietly. Because that's all humanity has ever done: adapt, overcome, survive. The officers fell silent, watching the Ghost Fleet ships moving through their training formations. Each vessel represented countless hours of work, countless sacrifices, countless small victories in humanity's desperate race to understand their enemy's technology. Send word to all Ghost Fleet commanders, Ramirez ordered finally. Operation Thunderstrike begins in 3 weeks. We'll show the Krelthax that humanity doesn't just learn from defeat, we transform it into victory. As the orders went out through the encrypted quantum network, the Ghost Fleet continued to grow. In hidden shipyards throughout the outer solar system, humanity's response to extinction was taking shape. The Krelthax had sown the seeds of their own destruction the moment they assumed that killing humans was the same as killing humanity's potential. They were about to learn the difference. The Ghost Fleet emerged from Jupiter's storms like wraiths made of shadow and starlight. 57 ships moving in perfect formation, their quantum shrouds bending light and reality around them. On the bridge of the flagship Phoenix Rising, Commander Ramirez watched the tactical display as humanity prepared to strike back for the first time in 9 months. All vessels reporting ready, Lieutenant O'Neill announced, his voice tight with controlled tension. Dark space disruptors charged and synchronized, task forces Alpha through Delta confirming optimal positions. Through the encrypted quantum network, Captain Winter's voice came clear and cold. Shadowblade in position. We've confirmed the Krelthax command node is maintaining standard patrol patterns. They haven't detected a thing. Ramirez took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history pressing down on his shoulders. Dr. Tanaka, final status on the targeting systems. All ships showing green, Yuki replied from her station. Phase shift predictors are calibrated to 96% accuracy. The moment they enter the disruption field, they'll be forced into normal space. They'll have nowhere to hide. The plan was elegant in its simplicity, brutal in its efficiency. The Krelthax had grown so dependent on their phase shift technology, so confident in their ability to exist partially outside normal spacetime, that they'd forgotten how to fight in conventional reality. Arya reports optimal conditions for temporal targeting, O'Neill added. The electromagnetic interference from Jupiter is masking our approach vectors perfectly. Ramirez nodded slowly, send to all ships operation. The Krelthax Supreme Fleet arrived in the solar system like a dark tide, thousands of crystalline ships tearing holes in reality itself. Their response to humanity's defiance was exactly what Commander Ramirez had predicted: overwhelming force, delivered with arrogant certainty. They brought their entire invasion fleet, Lieutenant O'Neill reported from the Phoenix Rising's tactical station. Over 3,000 vessels, including designs we've never seen before. Dr. Tanaka's fingers danced across her console, analyzing the new energy signatures. They've modified their phase shift technology. Our current disruption fields won't be as effective. As expected, Ramirez replied calmly. Signal all Ghost Fleet commanders, implement adaptation protocol Omega. It's time to show them what humanity does best. The battle that followed would reshape the galaxy's understanding of warfare forever. The Krelthax struck with weapons that could shatter planets, expecting to find the same scattered resistance they'd crushed 9 months ago. Instead, they found something unprecedented, an enemy that had anticipated their every adaptation. Multiple Krelthax battle groups entering Jupiter's orbit, Captain Winters reported through the quantum network. Shadowblade confirms they're using the new phase shift frequencies. Execute Operation Evolution, Ramirez commanded. All ships activate secondary systems. Across the Ghost Fleet, hidden modifications came online. For months, human scientists had been preparing for this moment, developing countermeasures not just for known Krelthax technology, but for every possible way they might try to improve it. Dark space disruptors recalibrating, Yuki announced. Quantum resonance matching their new frequencies. They thought they were adapting, they were actually following our predictions exactly. The Krelthax Supreme Commander's voice boomed across all frequencies. Your resistance is futile. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We have erased 1,000 species. Your temporary victory means nothing. Commander Michelle Fan's voice cut through the chaos. Nemesis Task Force engaging primary target. They still haven't realized what we've done to their command protocols. The Ghost Fleet moved like a single organism, each ship executing complex maneuvers that seemed chaotic but followed a precise pattern. Months of studying Krelthax tactical doctrine had revealed their greatest weakness. They couldn't conceive of an enemy that could outthink them. Multiple Krelthax dreadnoughts attempting emergency phase shifts, O'Neill reported, but they can't coordinate their movements. Their entire command structure is compromised. Dr. Hassan's voice came through from the Titan research station. The quantum virus is working. Every time they try to adapt their systems, they're actually downloading our attack protocols. They've become their own worst enemy. The Krelthax Supreme Fleet's formation began to break apart. Their attempts to counter human tactics only made them more vulnerable. Their advanced technology turned against them by an enemy that understood it better than they did. They're trying to regroup near Saturn, Captain Jackson reported from the Starcaller, right where we wanted them. Ramirez nodded grimly. Signal all ships, execute final protocol. The trap was sprung. Hidden throughout the solar system, hundreds of automated platforms activated simultaneously, creating a vast web of dark space disruption fields. The Krelthax found themselves trapped in normal space, their phase shift technology useless. Message from the Krelthax Supreme Commander, Yuki announced. They're requesting communication. Put them through, Ramirez ordered. The alien voice seemed different now, less arrogant, touched with something that might have been fear. How have you done this? Our technology is supreme. Our understanding is perfect. Ramirez stood, addressing not just the enemy commander but the entire Ghost Fleet. That's exactly why you've lost. You thought technology alone made you invincible. You forgot the most important law of the universe: adapt or die. Humanity doesn't just use technology, we improve it. We don't just learn, we evolve. Every defeat teaches us. Every setback makes us stronger. The battle's outcome was no longer in doubt. The Krelthax Supreme Fleet, trapped and outmaneuvered, faced an enemy that had turned their own technological superiority into a weakness. Ship after ship fell to weapons specifically designed to counter their every possible adaptation. They're broadcasting a general retreat, O'Neill reported, disbelief in his voice. The entire Supreme Fleet is withdrawing from the solar system. But Ramirez wasn't finished. Send final message to all Krelthax vessels, your empire ends here. We've uploaded our understanding of dark space technology to every advanced species you've conquered. They know your weaknesses now. They know you can be beaten. The Krelthax response came back filled with rage and disbelief. You would share our sacred knowledge with lesser beings. This violates all natural law. No, Ramirez replied. This is natural law, evolution, adaptation, survival. The strong don't just destroy, they innovate, they share, they grow. You could have taught us, could have helped us evolve. Instead, you tried to exterminate us. And in doing so, you forced us to become stronger than you ever imagined possible. As the last Krelthax ships fled the solar system, the Ghost Fleet regrouped around Earth's orbit. The planet was still scarred from the initial invasion, but already ships were descending to begin the reconstruction. Send word to all human colonies and resistance cells, Ramirez ordered. The war is over, but our evolution is just beginning. Captain Winter's voice came through one last time. What do we do now, Commander? Ramirez looked out at the stars, seeing not just victory but possibility. Now we do what humanity has always done. We rebuild, we improve, we reach for the stars. And we make sure that no species ever again mistakes technological superiority for the right to destroy. The Ghost Fleet spread out across Earth's orbit, their quantum shrouds deactivating one by one, revealing ships that had evolved far beyond their original designs. They were no longer just vessels of war, they were symbols of humanity's greatest strength, the ability to face extinction not with fear, but with determination to understand, to adapt, and to overcome. The Krelthax had sought to eliminate humanity from the galaxy. Instead, they had forced humanity to become something new, something stronger. And in their defeat, they had taught the galaxy a lesson that would echo through the ages. True strength lies not in the power to destroy, but in the will to evolve.